How's it going, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jackson Cooper. I'm a senior here at Morehead State University, and today I'm going to talk to you about Enterprise Rent-A-Car and some communication aspects that come along with this awesome company. So, to get started, a quick introduction of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They started back in 1957 by the name of Jack Taylor. He started in the basement of this car dealership in St. Louis, Missouri, I want to say, and he started with a 7-car fleet. Now, fast forward to today's present, 2018, Enterprise now has went from a 7-car fleet to over 1 million cars in fleet, has employed over 100,000 employees, and one of the coolest thing about Enterprise Rent-A-Car is that to this day they are still a family-owned business. Now that you know the background and the base of the company, we are going to get into more communication aspects of them. And another thing that I forgot to mention about Enterprise Rent-A-Car is that they are a global company. They're spread across 85 countries. And given that they are so widespread, communication is obviously important. So let's go ahead and dive into it. What to expect from this video is we're going to be talking about a lot of communication aspects with Enterprise. And one of the main things that we're going to be talking about is positive letters, negative letters, and persuasive letters, and how they send them out effectively, and what they could do better when what they're already doing good on. And also we're going to talk about internal and external communication, as far as how does the company communicate within and how do they communicate on a global level. And once again, with all the examples I'm going to provide, I'm also going to provide I'm not only going to provide information on what only they are doing good, but what they could work on as well. So let's go ahead and get started with positive letters. Enterprise Rent-A-Car does an amazing job with sending out positive and routine messages. One thing that they're smart about is that they always send out messages that are going to be very relatable and find the common ground with a wide spread of customers. And one of these examples that I wanted to bring up was their 50 million trees for 50-year tree foundation. This was a great example of how Enterprise sends out positive letters, because what they did in this example is they, starting off the article, it's literally what this says right here: Enterprise Rent-A-Car 50 million tree pledge. And what they talk about is that they plan on planting 50 million trees for the next 50 years. And they do a great job with using the direct approach of just coming out with their main headline, their main purpose, and then they start giving out supporting details. Now, throughout those supporting details, I only have one recommendation on what they could do better, and that is being more specific to their customers. Now, throughout the letter, they do show appreciation to their customers, but they aren't specific with all the customers that they should be showing appreciation for. When it comes to Enterprise, there's many different avenues that could make you a customer to Enterprise. You could be a retail customer, you could be an insurance customer, you could be a corporate customer, you could be a dealership that's doing work on their cars, or you could be a body shop that's doing work on their cars or doing service on them, or a dealership selling them cars, or vice versa. So one thing that I would recommend for Enterprise in their positive letters is showing specific appreciation to all the customers that have helped them send out this positive message of planting 50 million trees for 50 years. So in conclusion, with the positive letters, does a great job with the direct approach, finding common ground. I would just recommend being more specific with who they want to show appreciation for. Now that we've talked about positive letters, I now want to go on the contrary, talking about negative letters. Now, with Enterprise, given that they're a global company, you're going to have problems. Not everything is perfect. And one system that Enterprise has set up is anytime that a customer has a problem, they can go online, post about it, and then an Enterprise employee will come in, see what the problem is, address it, and help that customer out. Now, this example below, this is an example off of one of those websites, and it's where a customer had went on and complained about what had happened. And pretty much in this scenario of this example, this customer would his or her last day of the rental was supposed to be June 15th, and Enterprise forgot to stop the charges on that last day due to some sort of miscommunication. And because of that, the customer got charged extra money than what he or she was supposed to pay, and was angry enough, rightfully so, to go on this website and post about it. And in return, an Enterprise employee came in response to this negative letter and addressed it very appropriately. And in doing so, one of the main aspects that I think this Enterprise employee did a great job on in this negative letter was emphasizing the positive. It was obviously a negative scenario, but if you were to read this example, the representative shows that they did a great job of emphasizing the positive of what they did to make sure this customer was happy, which in this scenario, it was picking up the car for him, stopping the charges, and make sure that they were refunding the money to him. Now, my only recommendation for this negative letter is that the Enterprise employee could have been more specific to that customer by using the you attitude instead of the Enterprise employee just typing on the website and speaking to everybody on there. What he should have done is, my recommendation for this Enterprise representative is just use the more you attitude and show that it's more personable to the person that it happened to instead of talking to other people on the website that might be looking at it. In conclusion, with the negative letters, did a great job with emphasizing the positive, but could use the you attitude to come off as more personable. Next, we will talk about persuasive letters. Now, obviously, Enterprise Rent-A-Car has been doing a great job with some sort of persuasive strategy given their success and what they have accumulated to from the past years. Now, in this persuasive letter, this is off their website, and this passage mainly just talks about their program called Enterprise Plus, which is essentially a program that any customer can get who is renting from Enterprise. And Enterprise Plus is essentially anytime that you rent a vehicle from the company, you get points. And throughout time of renting from them, whether you're a loyal customer or just renting from time to time, you gain points up. And when you get enough points, you can use these points and apply them to getting discounted rates, getting free rentals, or any other benefits that you may have depending on how many points that you have accumulated. Now, one of the awesome things that I think this representative, whoever typed this persuasive letter on here, one aspect that they did a really great job on was showing concrete evidence for promises and claims that are made in the text. They tell you what could happen, and they really provide supporting details of how they can make that come true. Now, my only recommendation for this persuasive letter is coming off a little more persuasive in the beginning. If you read this text, it's pretty much very informative. They hop straight into it. They just talk about Enterprise Plus program and how it works. However, to be more persuasive, my recommendation is to start out the text by asking the reader a few questions and establishing some common ground to really attract that attention, to focus on what the reader could want or need, and how it can establish providing those wants and needs. Because obviously they provide the details and the concrete evidence to support Enterprise Plus. My only recommendation is to ask questions to draw the reader in. So in conclusion, with persuasive letters, they do a great job with providing evidence for the promises and claims that they make. Although my only recommendation is ask some questions or find some other way to draw the reader in to make that persuasive letter just that much more persuasive. Now that we're done with the letters, we will now talk about internal communication. Now, as far as internal communication, I am speaking from personal experience. I am currently an Enterprise employee. I've been working with Enterprise for the past half year. And as far as internal and global communication goes, this is all mainly from personal experience. Now, working at Enterprise, one of the main things that I've noticed is the most effective communication is in-person meetings. Anytime that it's available, or anytime that it can happen, in-person meeting is always the way to go. That's what I've noticed, and especially if it's something important, because you get all the context of the information right then and there, and if anything needs to be discussed or fixed, it can be done right there in the present. Now, the next biggest thing that is possibly more effective as far as just establishing communication quickly is phones. That's what I've noticed is used at a very wide rate and base with enterprise. And it's very helpful in many situations, whether someone is out trying to pick up a customer or pick up a vehicle and there are a change of plans or anything along those lines. Having a phone available, whether it's a cell phone or a branch company phone, having that sort of quick communication always helps out with keeping everybody on the same page and is very effective in that sense. And email, this is mainly used in internal communication with the higher up representatives, sending updates and broad general information down to lower representatives. And that'll usually just consist of verbiage that you can say in your sales, how to make your computer work faster, or simply hope you're having a good day. Just broad updates. My only recommendation for internal communication is texting and driving. That's a huge issue. Enterprise employees are always on the road a lot, and I've noticed that a lot of enterprise employees are always texting, and it's usually based off of texting other employees or their boss, but there's always time to wait. So in conclusion of internal communication, in-person meeting phones are awesome for quick communication and to get the point across, while email is used for more broad updates. And my only recommendation is cut the texting and drive now. It's actually very rapid. Lastly, we will talk about external communication. Now, when I talk about external communication, I'm talking about how enterprise communicates on a global level. And what I've noticed is if an enterprise employee in America is trying to contact somebody, say over in Europe, one of the main things or one of the main channels of communication that they're going to use is either video conference call or such like a FaceTime where they're talking face to face, or just talking on the phone. In these two ways, it really helps out. I've noticed that video conference is always the preference of seeing a familiar face, even if they are thousands of miles away. That always helps to establish good rapport and communication, even though they are very far away. Phones, they're just as helpful as they are in an internal communication sense, although anytime that you're using a phone to contact someone in a more distant area, it's not going to be for quick change of plans. It's always a main general update. And as far as email goes, this is also used to global communication. However, it's mainly used to either set up a video conference or phone call, or it'll be used just for a general update, just like it's used in internal communication. Now, my only recommendation of how external communication could be worked on within enterprise is not feeling a need to always set up a video conference call, because sometimes it does take time out of the day, especially with how fast-paced enterprise can be and how on the clock you are at the mercy of your customers. It's important to always be time effective, and I feel by just talking on the phone, you could get your message across just as well as you could on a video conference, but not spare as much time. So in conclusion, with external communication, video conference call is the main go-to, especially if it's a big meeting. Phones are just as handy as the video conference call, and emails mainly used to set up meetings or for broad general updates. And my only recommendation for global communication is the fact that phones could be just as effective and more efficient than setting up video conference calls. Now, in conclusion, I hope you guys have learned a lot about how enterprise communicates on a community, internal, and external communication aspect. And obviously, Enterprise, they are a globally known country. And because of this, it's obvious that they're doing something right. They're communicating their messages effectively, at least somewhat. Overall, my only recommendation for them is my recommendation for Enterprise is very minor, and you saw that was discussed earlier in the video. However, one thing that I would like to say is, given the fact that they're a global company and a lot of communication is to happen, given the fact that in the past fiscal year they raked in over $26 billion in revenue, I think it's safe to say that Enterprise Rent-A-Car is doing well in almost all aspects of business, and recommendations that I would provide for them would be very minuscule. Once again, my name is Jackson, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video and have learned a lot about how Enterprise Rent-A-Car communicates. Thank you.